detectives I had, the Knox, they were in a cab, yellow cab. They used to borrow cars to look undercover, whatever. So they went, how you guys do? I went, doing real fine. Why? He goes, I can't believe it. He goes, we were doing nothing. He goes, and this captain told us we were going to raid a tattoo shop. I was like, what? I went, what's the story with this guy? He goes, let me tell you something about this captain. The fruit stand on 65th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway, he gives a summons to the guy daily for having his vegetables and stuff too close to the curb. He says, so all I can tell you is,
get out now.
You don't want to stay here, because he'll be back. They issue us a summons to appear 646 Broadway, which is the same court as spitting on the subway, smoking on the subway. It's a misdemeanor bullshit court. We go there with the ticket. Now, meanwhile, what they confiscated, the stencil and the Supreme, the same what they confiscated from Carl, they never gave us a voucher. They never gave us anything. Now, we go, judge goes, $50 a piece, pay the thing, pay $50. They go, what about our equipment? Oh, you got to go to the property office for that. Luckily, we had Big Mitch with us, who was a transit cop. I said, what's with this? He goes, let's go to the property office. So we went there, here, we paid the summons, we want our stuff back. Where's the court thing from the appeal, and all this here? And I went, so George flipped his badge, he went, no, not for nothing. Nobody gave them a voucher. It's supposed to be locked up in your locker until it's the court date, and that's how it's supposed to be. So none of you did that. So just give them back what you took from them, and we'll be out of here. And it was that simple, and we were out of there. And that was it. After that, we stood there a week or two, got there every day, every night at 7. Whoever wanted to follow Carl home, which at the time I moved him almost, it was funny. He was on 76th Street and 13th Avenue. Billy was on 12th Avenue and 76, which was around the corner, and I was on 78. There was 3 of us not even in walking like from here to around the corner and back. And we all made, who went to him, who went to me, there was no discussion, there was no nothing. And I wind up building a small little spot next to the boiler room down the basement. I asked the landlord, who was a cool guy that knew my mother for years, he had a little real estate office in the front, and he liked me. He went, as long as you put a door and a lock on it, if an inspector comes, I'll just tell him it's for storage. I said, okay, cool. So I built a little square room, flashed it out, and I had guys coming downstairs that, truthfully speaking, to this day, how nobody fell and got hurt, because it was really pitiful going down them stairs and then going to the back part. I mean, I cleaned it up, but it wasn't. Inside, it was lit up and everything. The walls were white and the floor was painted, gray and everything. It was clean. But I stayed there until the summer of 77, and this thing came true with the house where I had to jump on it, and I caught a few guys that were locals around here that all had pin jobs on them, like jailhouse tattoos. So I don't know if it was my wife that said, why don't you ask them guys if they're interested in tattoos? So from that, I'd start taking a few of them. I live 10 miles north of here in the woods, literally in the woods. No community, no nothing. A few of them started, I did a few, and that was in 77. And then also I was making trips all the way to Islip, Long Island, to this guy, Dave, that I met up at Big Joe's, and sleeping by Pete's in between Queens and Long Island for a couple of days, and going home with $150 at this point in my life. I was going this fucking sucks. And then I, just kept on trucking,
Would you say that the 80s, early 90s were your best, moments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The 90s, I say everything before 9/11 was gold. And I always says to Eddie bailed after 50 years. He said 52 he started. '02 he sold everything.
Right.
And I always says to him, you're the smartest one. You got out alive. And he used to go to me on the phone, half drunk. See, Eddie's thing, Bob Shaw says, when you're a good friend of Eddie's, you'll know it when he calls you at 3 o'clock in the morning drunk and wants to talk to you. And sure enough, I became one of the victims of the list that he had of who hung up on him, then who would talk to him. The 90s, that's why I brought Freddie in to work Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I shared a chunk of change with him that, I could have done it all, but I figured, what the fuck, why not help him out? You know what I'm saying? He's an old timer. And then he wound up moving up here, which was a mistake where he moved because you needed like a four-wheel off-terrain vehicle to the hill that he lived on, which he didn't understand that his Pontiac station wagon wasn't making it up there. Like you were walking a half a mile to get to the house. But yeah, he stayed for a while, and then that was in the 90s, and then his wife got sick in 90. She wound up dying in 96 of lung cancer. And he had already started going back to Staten Island with another scheme of someone else that was going to open up a place, and him and Todd were going to work it, and this and that, and that was the end of that. And then he came up and helped me at the fair a couple of times after that.
Who would you say, out of all your years of being around this, who would you say was your favorite tattoo artist of all time?
My favorite tattoo artist?
Like somebody that you admired their work, their ethic, what they did for
I admired Zeke Owens for the way he carried himself, the way he could jump from one idea of making money, raising bees, dogs, this, that, but always could sit down back in his place and roll out tattoos like nobody else. And just to see him, I worked around the corner from him, and just to see him when he got ready to tattoo, the way he'd use a pair of tweezers and put a needle bar into the tube, and just every motion was like a symphony orchestrated with no wasted movements. Mike Maloney, we mentioned that in the book, that he learned more about machines from Zeke when he was in San Diego than anybody else that he ever worked with. Zeke was a very smart man. Tony also and Freddie, I respected them also in that way. As far as me being the tightest, who I hung with, who there was nothing kept back from, was Pete Giaquinto. He was beyond. I had an older brother, but my older brother was an educator. I didn't really hang with my brother that much. You know what I'm saying? My brother, believe it or not, God rest his soul, he passed away in 21. He was a nuclear physicist, my brother.
Wow.
And got doctorate in that, and was teaching that in Indianapolis at a Catholic college for years. And everything with him was books and books and getting further and further and further. And he did a lot for my aunts and uncles with, old age and stuff, which I had no head for any of that shit and things like that. But, two opposite. But as far as like, Pete was my life, and we were each other's. There was no holds barred from each one of us. We didn't have any secrets. We didn't, I'd have to say, not that I don't have any less respect for who else I mentioned, but as far as hanging tough and hanging tight, he was my man.
Right.
When he passed away, the first night he was laid out, I didn't leave. I slept by his daughter. My wife and son went home because she couldn't handle it. Because we were good friends with him, and his wife had died from cancer, and she died in 98. I was so overwhelmed and so taken that I didn't leave until I went to the cemetery and went to church and put him in the ground, which more so than family members, I didn't have that feel
Yeah.
That was that feel, and it really messed my head. You know, like I was like blown away. Like,
Well, Ronnie, I appreciate you spending some time with me
oh,
today,
no,
man.
I mean,
Much appreciated as always.
No, what are you crazy?
I always enjoy hanging out with you.
I mean, I hope I told it a little bit, you know, different
man.
than before.
You're good.
You know,
I
I just don't. That's the way it was, and I can't get it. You know, I can't lie.
No, I hear you.
You know, that's the problem. If I would have lied 30 years ago, I wouldn't be still here trying to make $1. In other words, in other words, I would have opened 2 or 3 places, put shitheads in it, and reek off of them, because a lot of guys did that in the 80s. They went to a convention. They said, "This guy made $1,000 times 7. That's $7 grand. How much does it cost to open a shop? You stick 3 shitheads in there." Give them 30%, and that's how it all inflated into the cancer of the entrepreneur guys that were already had like electrician jobs and like good lives. They still wanted to fucking eat what I needed to make a living at it.
Yeah.
You know, and that used to irk me, but then I got to the point where you ain't gonna win this fucking argument. And it's even today. I'll meet some guys and I'll go, "This is the worst times that we've seen." He went, "Yeah, it's real slow." And one guy answered me, "It's a good thing that my wife's a nurse, because," I went, "Oh yeah." He goes, "You know, I got kind of an ace in the hole." I went, "Yeah, you got a big ace in the hole." And then I met another guy from Jersey, and I wanted to go pumping gas. Because the shop that he worked, there wasn't enough work. Another guy's cutting trees and then working in between. You know, another guy's working for the city or something. You know, when I saw that, I went like, "What are you going into something that this is my livelihood like?"
Right, you're taking away from my plate.
You're taking away from my plate.
Yeah.
And you already got to eat. That to you is another motorcycle or another Corvette or a fucking boat.
Right.
You know?
Well,
all I want is a living for my family. Education-wise, I sent some to school, you know, whatever they wanted to do. Ronnie with a restaurant. You know, we had a pizzeria before he was at Bradley's.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yep.
Up the hill there.
Right by Salt Creek, right?
Yeah, right going
let me
up
just
to
say
Salt
this
Creek.
real quick.
Go ahead, brother.
So if anybody's looking to get work done and you're anywhere near Stroudsburg, PA, make sure you stop up and see Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's open Mondays through Saturdays.
He's open when the sign's outside that says open.
There you go. Thanks for hanging out
More or
with us.
less. No, thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure.